Thank you very much. So we now move on to the public forum section of the meeting, and we have two of those today. So Ihorangi, if you'd like to come forward to the desk there, and if you switch your microphone on so it turns green. Yep, that's fine. So welcome. You'll be aware that you've got 5 minutes to talk to us about your issue today. Thank you very much.
Okay. The bus exchange opened in May 2015 with at the cost of $53 million. My issue today is around the youth that hang around in the exchange and their violence and just the youth that hang around the exchange and basically the violence. The youth that hang around the bus interchange all have some gang affiliation. At the moment there are around 15 to 20 people that hang around the bus exchange, and they're known as town bums. On Wednesday the 9th of December I had my phone stolen from inside the bus exchange, and this wouldn't have happened if the security guard didn't let the person in, basically. The person is trespassed from both the exchange and the crossing. Also, I have heard through the security guards at the exchange that the trespassers are going to be wiped. There is a guy on the trespass list who groped one of the security guards and a young person at the bus interchange, and now they are allowed to have free reign, basically, of the bus exchange. You're allowed to go in and catch the buses, and they may well do it to another girl or a security guard. I have also been a witness to many fights at the exchange, and this is not okay. It's supposed to be a safe public place, but at the moment I don't think it's safe for me and the staff and also other customers. What I would like to see improve is more security guard and staff, the trespassers to stay, and either a youth worker or a youth aid officer to be present at the bus exchange. Any questions?
Thanks so much for that. So I've got questions here from Jake and Yanni.
My question's actually not very good, but those are fantastic suggestions. You said that the person that stole your phone was able to get into the bus exchange and pass by security. Do you think there's also an increased role for perhaps better training and better retention of who is and who isn't trespassed at any one point in time?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Thank you. Yanni?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the suggestion. Have you talked to council staff at all about the arrangements of security?
I made a complaint.
And how was that handled? Like, what feedback did you get?
I haven't heard anything back.
Right. And just, do you think, like, I just was really interested in having a youth worker there, but do you have any thoughts on having a dedicated youth space, like a youth centre in the bus exchange? Would that be something that you think, have you considered having a more permanent space rather than just a youth worker, and if so, what would that be?
That didn't come through my mind, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Tim, then James at this time.
You mentioned when you were talking that someone had been trespassed but then had free range of the bus exchange. Could you a wee bit more on that? Sorry, because if someone's trespassed, then they should not be there, full stop.
So the person's trespass got wiped.
Right. And do you know why that got wiped at all?
Apparently the council are taking all trespass people off the list.
Well, we can check up on that. Yeah, I mean they do expire after a period of time, so I don't know. Yeah, James.
Tēnā koe, Ihorangi. Apologies if you did mention this, but when I use the bus exchange, there are security people there. It's quite noticeable. Do you not see them?
I do, but they don't.
They're not active,
Yeah,
proactive.
not active.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'd agree with that, to be honest, to be frank. I noticed that.
Okay, so I think, thank you so much for coming in. There's no more questions, but what we are going to do is we're going to refer the issues that you've got onto staff, and we're going to get some information back for councillors and back for you as well, and might be able to share that with you. and we will see where we can go from there. But I think it'll be really good to have young people like yourself involved in that conversation of what to do as well. Okay? So thanks so much for coming in. Kia ora. Okay, so our next public forum is Dave Idale and Laurie Shaw, who are speaking on behalf of residents of Vogel Street regarding an OCHT development. So welcome, and if you could come up to the front. Now this was going to be multiple separate presentations, and what we've done is we've combined them into one 10-minute public forum instead. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So we have some slides to go up. The one thing with the slides is when the slides are up, you can't see the time at the same time.
Yeah, do you mind if I just grab my phone so I can use a stopwatch?
So you can have, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because I don't want to overtalk.
Welcome.
Good morning. So I guess a bit of background. We've owned our house in Vogel Street since 2005. We rebuilt knowing that there was social housing behind us and that there was likely that that would be rebuilt at some point. So we're not against social housing. We understand that there's a need for it and it needs to be somewhere. We were hoping with the design for the rebuild that it would be sympathetic to previous developments that had happened on the site. So directly across the stream from Galton Place is another piece of social housing. It's mixed use, it's got 2-storey, single storey, it's built with permanent materials, it looks really nice. Unfortunately this is not the case. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous talking to other people. The proposed design is really none of these things. It is poor design. It will lead to dark units. It will lead to disputes within the tenants. It will lead to us losing our sunlight and privacy. There are 13 separate properties that back onto this development along Vogel Street. So this isn't a small impact in terms of our local area. Sunlight and privacy would be the two key components that we're really concerned about in terms of how this impacts. Sorry, I've lost my place. I'm surprised that the design is non-notifiable given the size and the scale of the units. They're simply not in keeping with what's already on site. And I feel that there could be some solutions that would be easy to be kind of, help with the design that they've put through. I mean, ideally we'd like to see a complete redesign that was more sympathetic to the area and also that would allow the units to have north-facing windows, because currently they don't in the proposed design. We understand that this has now gone to the planning area and the likelihood of that happening is pretty low. So from our perspective, moving the units off the boundaries so that they're not so hard up against our boundary would massively impact on both our privacy and our sunlight. And we would also like to see a planting strip placed between the boundary and the redevelopment so that we can help kind of increase the thing. The other thing is I'm also really kind of disturbed by the way that Otatahi Housing Trust has handled itself through this process. There were numerous inquiries made by multiple people to them over the periods that this was obvious to everyone that things were moving. These were universally ignored. We didn't hear back from them at all, period. So the only engagement that we got from them was once they had submitted the plans to council. And that's not really community engagement at that point. That's kind of just telling us what's going to happen, which is, I don't know, may as well have taken notice out the paper. And they've really used the whole process around the way that they've put the proposal together as a very much a box ticking exercise. Like, they've gone to the urban planners, they've gone to the pre-planning meetings, they've done a CPIT. You know, it's great that they've done all these things, but they've almost universally ignored all the recommendations from those things, and they've just picked the ones that suit their design, and then they'll tell us about how those are the most important things in their criteria. So we just kind of feel that it's, you know, there could have been a better way of doing this, and for an organisation which is basically de facto council, this is just not best practice. It's not even good practice, and I think the design shows that. I'll pass over to Laurie now.
Okay. I am a homeowner in a long row of 6 units where the OCHT plans to parallel their longest 2-storey block of 10 units directly to our west, significantly impinging on our privacy and sunlight in every single other unit's one. To quote the OCHT, the orientation of the block means overlooking between units to each other's internal living spaces is able to be minimised. However, the largest block has been designed to look straight into the living areas and bedrooms of those of us across the fence, and we will be looking straight back in their bedrooms. To quote, all outdoor living spaces will receive good levels of sunlight during the day. However, some of those yards will be in the shade of our building for much of the morning and their own building in the afternoon. Our yard will be plunged into darkness before 6 p.m. in the middle of summer. The implications for wintertime when sunlight means so much to people like me with seasonal affective disorder is disturbing. Due to multiple health conditions, I am home all day and in our yard. Our yard feeds us with its vegetables and fruits. It's a second living and dining space. It's a private sanctuary of greenery. It's my evening sun and sanity. Plants and people don't thrive without good light. Our family would not have bought here 28 years ago if it lacked privacy or good light to garden. Those were prime considerations. Until recently, we had no problem with social housing and are very much in favour of it. Problems arose in the neighbourhood with the massive HNZ block at the top of the street. They finally hired a security guard. I've heard that Delta Community Support Trust is overburdened. No suburb should be so impositioned with such high intensity social housing when other residents have needs too, and the growth of the city is happening elsewhere. With the Gowerton Place flats, one of my former neighbours needed to put a restraining order on a tenant of the trust. He was upfront that he was straight out of prison, and she was clear she wasn't interested in a relationship, but he'd come drunk banging on her door in the middle of the night and tried to force his way in. For the remainder of her time here, she was terrified, which entirely altered her life. She was like many of the tenants in the set of units we live in, a single mother with young children. I would like to know, for the safety of those in our units, what is the proportion of men who will be living in this upstairs block, and will they have criminal records like the one who harassed my neighbour? What is the strategy when incidences like this arise, given the bank of windows that will look straight into the bedrooms of women and children and into their yards? And conversely, what is their management strategy when they house vulnerable tenants whose own bedrooms face some of the current tenants in adjacent units to ours who have loud, vulgar domestics which would echo back and forth between buildings, or drug dealers that, despite the police getting multiple complaints, have shown little interest in policing? How do you justify this design where people are looking straight into each other's lives? Some on both sides may have quite a troubling element to them. OCHT have argued to us that it could be worse, but really, it's in a similar league of bad design like the HNZ building. It's institutional, not home-like. For supremely pissing off the neighbours for robbing sun and privacy, they have managed to only gain 7 more units and introduce some of the worst aspects of higher density building. In a neighbourhood that really doesn't need 7 extra units of social housing, nor to dismantle decades of goodwill. I was all in favour of rebuilding the council flats in better ways, so it flummoxes me that anyone could come up with a design that would pit neighbour against neighbour in a formally harmonious relationship. It doesn't serve its own tenants well in multiplying the number of shared walls and ceilings with each other and disrespecting both ours and their privacy and sunlight. The trust is supposed to be about meeting vulnerable people's housing needs, not eroding vulnerable neighbourhoods. They should do better by everyone. This is a mistake that will have many decades of repercussions. It's worth getting it right for the whole community. They could have been part of a force that helps maintain the special character of the neighbourhood, but choose to be a destructive force in the march of anonymising developments that treat people as stackables who don't need light, privacy or safety. I implore them to radically change their design.
Thank you. Are you speaking as well? Sorry?
No.
No.
He's been running
Just
this
leave
Oh,
one.
you run the slide. Okay, so we do have 45 seconds if there's a single question. Otherwise, we have had a small amount of information through back from council staff, and I'm wondering, Jake, if you'd like to share that with them, because you're local councillor. Yep. And actually, if you would be able to facilitate a meeting with Kate or someone at OCHT, so that the residents can actually talk to OCHT about their concerns face to face. Is that all right? Because bearing in mind this particular property is not, so OCHT do operate and manage some council-owned facilities. These ones are not. So these are actually owned and operated by, and the development's being done by OCHT itself under that capacity. So Jake, if you're able to organise that and facilitate a meeting, and then maybe report back to as council to see if there's anything that we need to be looking at, that would be really useful. Okay, thanks so much for coming in. So when I looked around initially, the first 10 seconds and looked for questions, I didn't see a hand, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to check, I mean, obviously I'm on the trust,
Yeah, so I just, yeah.
Yeah, just want to make that clear.
Well, if you're stepping back, you're stepping back.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe you would like to go to the meeting with Jake? Would that be really helpful?
No, I mean, I did think in the information that got provided, it may be appropriate that council and the trust do talk through some of these planning issues, but that's up for you guys.
Yeah.
But there is a relationship between trust and council.
There is, yeah.
And it's just how that information gets conveyed. But yeah, I'm just going to not participate in this because
I think we thank you. Okay, so Jake will bring back any information and ways forward that you think that need to happen there. That would be really good.
The OCHT, the trust, does have very strong wraparound services for the units, if that's of any help to you as well,
So I think
which
that-
will come out of the
It
meeting.
doesn't solve the privacy issues.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't
So-
solve the
So
sunlight
there's
issues
a
either.
broad range of issues there, and I think that the best way to do that is to deal face to face. And Jake, if you
They
need help
have not been
facilitating that,
interested
then
in
Bruce will.
Doing
Yeah.
that. That's
Okay.
part of our complaint.
Plus,
Okay.
they also sublet a number of the units in the existing thing out to the Salvation Army, which had different clients and different policies and different management strategies, and
Okay.
that caused issues.
So we will, take that. Okay. So thanks so much for coming in and raising those concerns with us today.